And for the first time since 1974, the best and brightest men and women of nations and corporations the world over will pool their resources, share their collective vision to leave behind a brighter future. It's not about us. Therefore, what I am saying, if I am saying anything, is welcome back.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, where tonight is another night where we do not have a guest on. It's dry season right now. It's dry season. Someone just lights a fire, man. There are no guests anywhere. I'm just kidding. We have plenty of guests, but just tonight we're not doing it. We got Johnny Jesse in the house once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to talk about some fucking crazy shit that we've talked about on the podcast before, but not in depth, not in its entirety of what the subject matter can bring to the table. Jesse, you want to enlighten us what we're speaking about tonight?
Oh, deepfakes, man.
What is a deepfake?
A deepfake is a new software, a new technology that basically can come in and layer over someone's face and literally make it scarily, like you cannot tell the fucking difference, where it makes it look like you're not the person that you are. And it's you almost indistinguishable. So the first time I saw it was they overlaid it's The Shining. Who's the dude from the fucking
Nicolas
Shining?
Cage on top of Jack Nicholson.
Well, it wasn't Nicolas Cage, the one that I saw. It was Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, Jim Carrey on top of Jack Nicholson.
Oh
on top
yeah,
of
damn. I remember that one too.
Literally, like it takes.
I thought that was really Jim Carrey.
That's
so
that's a deep fake.
You know, you should probably put a link to like something to where people can just like glance at it. But it's
Wendy, let me explain something to you. Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. And it will then take me time to get back to where I was. Understand?
Yeah.
Fine. And we're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
Could we put that in the video, Johnny?
Yeah, that's why I said if you want me to edit it, we can still do that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We'll do that.
yeah, no. So it's the technology is really cool. Like obviously the progression of our technology, but right when you see it, you can begin to understand how it can be exploited, and it's probably just going to end up being used for scams, basically.
Scams or political gain or
Scams, political gain.
So if I'm not mistaken, from what I've read, initially when deepfakes were first a thing, originally the software that they were using, it took hundreds of pictures of a certain person. You know, so the original software you would take, so this is why it's popular for celebrities, is because they have all those pictures available online, and they could get 100 pictures, and that way the software can make the deepfake. But now with the way technology has progressed, from what I read now, is they've updated the software to where they only need one picture, not hundreds.
Yeah, just a frontal picture, and then you could just CGI that shit. I mean, obviously, the more pictures, the more accurate, you would assume. But, I mean, it's just like with any, like, when you're designing video games or movies or anything like that, when they do, like, motion capture and all that stuff, or you've got or CGI. You got computer-generated characters that are made to look realistic, you know, not like Pixar level, but like a AAA video game where it's supposed to look realistic. It's not supposed to look cartoony. And it's not like some use real actors, but some don't even use real actors. They literally computer generate a face, and then they draw points all over the face for each like muscle and tell it how to move and everything with whatnot, and then you just overlay that onto another person's face. Basically, would be like deepfakes. And I'm sure it works differently than that. I don't know enough about it to. But I'm saying if we can do, like, I don't know. The technology's there. It exists. It's exists for some time, and it's only getting better.
Well, there was a scare, I think, it was like back in 2000, like 18 or 19, where they said that you're going to see a lot of deepfakes within the election, within this election process. and that was a big scare for everyone leading up to this election, was that there were going to be deep fakes, and it was just going to sway the election one way or another. And that didn't happen this election with deep fakes.
As far as you know.
Which is a good thing. As far as what mainstream is telling us, yes, you're right.
I was going to say, you can still, at least the consumer level of deepfakes, the deepfakes that we see on the web, like whenever you look up a YouTube video or whatever and look up a deepfake, there are these tiny little things where you can notice, oh man, like there's little moments where you're like, this looks weird. Like this looks
like
not...
the one with Barack Obama?
I haven't seen that one. But in general, just any of them, there's bits and pieces where you're like, something's a little off. Even with like the Jack Nicholson one, like it looks realistic, but there are moments where it looks a little off. And I can imagine as a politician or something, if the technology is not 100%, they wouldn't risk that being caught, you know?
Yeah. No, it's some interesting technology. I think right now, from what I read, 90% of deepfakes are used for pornography.
I was actually going to bring that up. It's kind of hilarious because there's this ongoing thing with just the porn industry in general that whatever porn adopts or uses becomes the mainstream because the porn industry is so large. The best example of that is there was Blu-ray versus HD DVD, which most people probably don't remember that. But after regular DVDs came out, there was this whole phase of you have Blu-ray and you have high-definition DVD. And those were competing. And Blu-ray was made by Sony. HD DVD, I don't know who it was made by. I can't remember. But HD DVD doesn't exist anymore because the porn industry adopted Blu-ray. That's what they started using. I shouldn't say that's the only reason, but that is one of the reasons that Blu-ray took over as when you go buy a movie right now on disc and you want the 4K movie, you buy it on Blu-ray. HD DVD did the exact same thing, but those literally don't exist anymore.
Because of the
because the porn industry adopted I'm saying that's
right.
I'm not saying solely on the porn industry, but that is a factor.
Yeah.
And also for those of you that are questioning that, probably people who don't jerk off to fucking porn, you can look at the timeline for cell phones. So for the longest time, cell phones got smaller, and the whole point of technology for cell phones was how small can we make them, up until we had the first cell phone that was able to actually access the internet and watch videos. Immediately from then, the screens got bigger. This is directly related to pornography too, because then, oh shit, I can watch porn on this. Well, I don't need it to be small anymore. I need it
all up in my face,
all up in my face, as big as humanly possible.
Phablet.
I know it's taboo. People don't want to talk about it, but it actually is a very influential.
It's part of life.
Yeah, it's a very influential thing.
I get it, but for deepfakes to be 90% of what that app or what that software is used for, I think that's pretty telling. And there's really not a lot of legislation on it, like to prosecute people for.
It's still pretty new, and by new I mean 10 years, 5 years,
right?
Well,
there were 3 guys that got caught in Japan that were doing deepfakes, and they had their own specific website. People could request to have a deepfake of a person that they wanted. And majority of the time it's celebrities, and they were just talking about the implications of people actually watching the video of their own deepfake and how that affects them mentally, seeing themselves in a porn when it's really not them. And the 3 guys ended up getting charged in Japan, but I mean, like I said, the legislation really isn't that egregious. I think the worst case scenario is like you're looking at 3 years in prison. If you get charged multiple times.
Well, at least they've got that in place, though, because I'm big on. We've talked about this before. I'm not big on the government having any kind of like control and a bunch of legislation and stuff. We're all libertarian here, pretty much, 90% of the way. But at the same time, with something this powerful, I do feel like there should be some legislation and some laws there, just like there are copyright laws and IP, intellectual property laws, and stuff like that. The same should go for someone's likeness. You can't just use someone's face for something, especially for monetary gain, like porn or a YouTube video or whatever. You can't just steal someone's identity for your own monetary gain without their permission. That's the same as stealing, copyrighted footage or, whatever.
Well, the worst thing for me, and I agree with you, I think that there should be some type of legislation passed here in the United States, is the fact that they can use underage girls, you know what I'm saying, or even boys at that point. Something has to be done. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. For some reason, they said TikTok is a lot of people are getting deep fakes off TikToks for some reason. I don't know why, but 1/3 of their base is people under the age of 14. So I don't know, man. That's just some shit I was reading on deep fakes earlier. It's fucking crazy, but you're right. Something should be done for sure.
But when I say something should be done, I mean on the legislation side, you're not going to get the technology exists.
Right.
You're not going to get rid of deep fakes. That will never happen.
Not.
That's just now a part of the world that we live in, is that technology existing, you know?
Yeah, but the whole thing, I was like, man, what's the positive? What's the positive for it?
And there's really not. There
really
is
no.
not.
It's like neutral entertainment purposes, basically. But its potential for wrongdoing is so fucking high.
Yeah.
On this level, like coming back to like the scam thing that I was talking about, I still get phone calls, and I know it's a scam because it's from an area code that's like 877. I'm pretty sure is what it is. But I'll get a voicemail saying, this is a call from a correctional facility. An inmate who knows you needs to, is trying to reach out or some stupid shit. It's literally all a scam. I've had fake IRS things from similar.
I don't answer phone calls I don't know, man.
Well, no, I don't answer them. They literally just leave voicemails, like threatening voicemails, especially with the IRS ones.
The IRS ones are really bad about being like, if you don't do this, you're going to jail.
They try to scare the shit out of you. But my whole thing is, man, you're right. You don't see a number, like you see a number come up that you don't know, you're immediately like, okay, I don't give a shit about this. But then all of a sudden, if you have a phone call fucking happen, and let's say somebody actually answers it, and then it's over FaceTime, and it literally, they use a deep fake, and it looks like one of your kids or one of your grandkids.
Before you go into that,
I guess they have to get the voice thing down too.
Well, yeah.
So they
that technology exists too.
They have audio.
Technology exists.
It started with audio deepfakes, then turned into video. So they have audio and video. But to go further with what you just said, like if your mom's trying to FaceTime you, there was an app, and it was like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago, that I would use where you could literally use someone else. Like I could use your number to call someone, to call Jesse, and you would think Jesse's calling you. So that
I've never heard of that, but that doesn't surprise me.
I did it. Like I was able to actually do it and call people. It was fucking insane. Like it was crazy as shit.
Yeah. So, man, that's just my biggest fear with the whole thing.
I guess that would be a deep fake in itself.
Yeah. Is that at some point it's just going to be used to just scam people out of money and like fuck their lives up because people are awful.
Do you think it's the type of technology that shouldn't be put in the hands of to where that software is allowed to like just the general public?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think you can prevent it though. Is the whole thing. If somebody wants to get a hold of it who's tech savvy and it's illegal, they'll still find a way because these.
I guess
so. I don't know, man.
So my thing with that, Paul, is that it's here to stay because that's how technology works. We advance technology, and then that's the new normal. I hate using that. I hate saying the new normal because of everything going on right now. That's not what I mean. But technology in general, however it advances, becomes the new normal for whatever that tech is. So going by that logic, you could be like, man, should everybody have cell phones? Because should everybody have email? Because you can scam people through email. You can scam people through cell phone calls and the stuff, the thing you were talking about earlier, literally calling from someone else's number, all this different stuff. I think it's less of, man, should this technology be out there and exist in the public, and more of a, hey, now that we know this technology exists and will eventually be obtainable for everybody, like on a cell phone level, literally 5 years from now or 3 years from now, there will be apps where you can just make deep fakes on your phone. It'll be a 99-cent app or a free app. I think that we as a society need to realize this isn't something you're going to get rid of, and now it's just another level of protection or safety that you have to remember and think about.
Right.
Just like you don't get an email from the Prince of Nigeria asking for money, and you're like, yeah, this seems legit. We're smart enough now. We know that that's not legit. We know that's a scam. So us as people,
we're smart enough. I mean, we're talking about the fucking general population.
The general public is smart enough to know the Nigerian thing is not a scam.
You make a good point. To make a point on what you just said, you're requiring people to actually do their due diligence and actually research what it is that they're watching, and we all already know how that goes. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to go into the favor of the general population because we're lazy and we don't want to do that.
I agree. What I'm saying though is, no. So we're going to have a couple of rough years where these scams will happen. The same with email. When email became a thing, and people, the worst people in the world, I I can't think of the phrase, not salt of the earth, because that's the whatever. When you have bad people out there, will use technology to their advantage to take advantage of other people. The same thing happened with emails when that first started.
This is like a whole nother level, though.
No, it's the same. That's what I'm saying. It really is the same. And then after
is
a couple
it really
of
the same though?
Yes, after a couple of years.
Jesse, is it the same? I mean, you're able to. I could be Johnny and talk for Johnny.
Let me finish what I was saying real quick. I think it's the same. No, it is more powerful. It's the same in the sense of how we will adapt to it. It took us a couple of years to realize that these emails and these calls were scams. People got scammed, people got robbed, people lost their money, a whole bunch of bad stuff happened. And then after a few years, we smarted up as a general public. The majority of people, there are still the occasional grandma out there who falls for it. But in general, I'd say above 90% have figured out that these are scams.
So then
and the same thing will happen with deepfakes. It's just going to take some time.
But that's going to put us in more of a... what is reality? That's what it's going to put us into.
I mean, now you're just talking about technology in general, man.
I mean, you're right. You just can't go and outlaw everything. But it is more dangerous than other scams because all scams come from an emotional level. Like they try to scare you or like pull your heartstrings in some way. But this one, being able to see like a loved one over the phone where you think this is a loved one, that's as aggressive as it gets. Mm-hmm. So that's initially why we're talking about it, is because this is going to be the most aggressive, most sinister kind of scam, is because they're able to hit you on this emotional level that's exceeded more than just an email about, oh, I'm getting excited because I could make a lot of money off this, or, oh man, I have a family member who might be, in a correctional facility because I'm getting a call from this random number or whatever. So in that sense, it makes it more dangerous. But I think the problem is that nobody's actually going to, because like, doesn't give a shit enough to come in and already like prepare people for it. It's gonna take that time to where, oh, X amount of people need to get fucked over before, okay, now it's fucking serious. But even though we can already predict right now, this is probably what's going to be happening. If it doesn't happen, I'll be amazed. If this doesn't, if all of a sudden you don't see this on the local news in like 4 years from now, that, oh, deepfake scams, and it's the big fucking, talk of the town.
And it'll be hilarious because the thing that we've already talked about, we talked about it outside, and Jesse, you've mentioned it a few weeks ago before. It'll be funny because Fox News or CBS or whatever they'll have their news reporter out there, in 3 years from now, talking about deepfakes, talking about scams, and be like, set up a password with your family. This is a way to stop the scam, blah, blah, blah. No, that's something that you can do, and we're going to sound crazy for saying it, but if this technology exists, it's something that people need to at least reasonably think about, which is having a quote-unquote, like, safe word for your family, so that if you get a call from your mom, she knows she's supposed to say Oklahoma.
See, that's where it gets deep, man. Like you said, Jesse, if they're able to actually call you and deepfake you as one of your family members, that's insane. Like whenever you're watching a YouTube video, like you described earlier, of Jack Nicklaus and it was Jim Carrey in the same position saying the same shit, I legitimately thought that was Jim Carrey. But it is in those types of videos, like whenever you upload to YouTube or anything like that, is there not some sort of digital footprint on the original video that you can access and see and know that it hasn't been edited or it hasn't been switched or changed, almost like a watermark in essence?
So what you're basically saying is, like, what about an app that comes out that's able to read deepfake technology like over the phone to see?
Yeah, I'm just saying
or
specifically even a video that's been edited. So I've heard from someone that I know that says that every video that you take or any picture that you take leaves a digital footprint.
It does. It's called, I'm going to fuck this up. So someone out there who's way smarter than me, correct me on it, but it's got something called like a PNP signature or a PNP code, or I'm probably fucking those letters up. It might be PNCP or something else, but there is a digital code there that exists from the time that's first taken, depending on what technology it is. It might not with a regular, like this camcorder, might not. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about that.
And even if that's the case, I don't know how to access that information to even know that it's been edited or deep faked. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, yeah, if they pass legislation to where, like, on a video, and again, this is going to sound crazy, but like in YouTube's instance, where like whenever they're putting like flat Earth or the elections, and they put it down at the bottom of the YouTube video and it says, hey, like this is like the real shit. If you want to see more information, just click here. Maybe have something like down there, because the technology's there saying, hey, this is probably a deep fake.
And then once again, that brings up something.
I know it's.
I wish that us,
crazy.
I wish that us as
hard.
a population though were smart enough to realize, for example, I don't think that you need all those warnings on YouTube right now. It's like it's like the warning hot coffee thing. Literally,
McDonald's,
like,
yeah.
coffee has to say warning, hot coffee, because people get sued and all this stupid shit. And I'm like, are we that dumb as a society to where this is needed now for everything? And now on YouTube, if there's anything, our video has it. Our other one about the elections, at the bottom, because we mention the elections, at the bottom it says, for more info on the elections and blah, 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 and what's real and what's fake and all this, click here. And that's an actual warning put up under our YouTube video. Can't we just go back to, like, where people just make their own decisions and go to multiple sources? Like, you don't watch something and just take it for fact right away.
Right. I agree with all of that, but I think when it comes to deepfakes and you're able to just, like, if you can portray yourself as a high political figure, I think
Oh, it's scary. It's
something needs to be done about that. As opposed to what they're doing now, I completely disagree with, like you said, I wish we could go back to that time. But when you're able to actually represent yourself as someone of a higher figure or power, I think that is insane and something should be done in some aspect.
Well, that's why I said there needs to be legislation, because to me it's no different than intellectual property theft. You're literally stealing, but instead of intellectual property, it's what do you call that? Likeness, identity. It's identity theft.
Yeah.
So I mean, there should be legislation there. It should exist. It should, and we've talked about this from like a consumer perspective. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about FaceTime. We're talking about scams and all this. The part that really scares me more than that is the government using it, and everything we know, not to get all conspiracy theory here, everything we know about the government over the past years, we know that whatever technology exists, they're already using it before we find out about it. You go back to the B-2 stealth bomber. People thought it was aliens. It existed in the 60s, and they didn't publicly come out with it until the 80s. So literally 20 years later before we find out about the B-2 bomber, even though they were using it. The same for Edward Snowden, talking about how they were using the NSA and the CIA were listening in on everybody. They were listening on more Americans than they were people in other countries. Out of every, like, all your cell phone, all that stuff, if you go to each country, the amount of people they were monitoring, there were more in the U.S. than any other country. And that took years for that, even though everybody kind of knew, it took years for that to become public knowledge when they were already doing it for 5-10 years previous. So the same thing, it's not that crazy to assume that they're doing it right now, and it will become public knowledge in the next 10 years.
How do you think the government would use deepfakes, though?
They'll find a way.
Yeah.
To use it to their advantage, like, how would that really...
I'm not going to waste my time trying to be creative
but
in
just, like,
a sinister way.
Think about it like this,
they
though.
pretend to be
I'm sure they figured it out.
a Russian politician or something for the Russian people, or against China, or what. Man, there'd be so many ways.
Yeah,
many ways.
In that aspect, whenever I'm just saying, like, you couldn't do it like on a level to where, like,
I'm not talking about like faking who the president is,
right? Because
I'm
that wouldn't
talking,
work.
like,
Yeah,
the NSA or the CIA being like, hey, there's this high official in the Russian government. He's a general or whatever, or one step below a general, whatever that is, you know. And then they take a deep fake of him and they leak they make it seem like a leak or something with some blurry footage, but it's clearly him kind of thing. And then that leaks of him doing this thing over to China now because they wanted to start some kind of feud between China and Russia. Like, I could see them doing that kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, that would be crazy. And that technology exists.
It's like with more technology, just more responsibility happens, and us as a human population,
we're not ready for it.
Not just America, but just the world in general. The people who are in a position of power tend to abuse it. So yeah, no, it's a scary thing whenever you see a new form of technology, and they're probably listening in on this podcast laughing because they have something that's so fucking advanced we won't know about in 20 years, and they go, "Oh man, you really think this is fucking you over, or this is going to?" Well, we really got some shit that's gonna blow your butthole open.
That's my whole point. Is
like
that
5 years from now,
the CIA and the government, the NSA, and all them, they've got the shit that exists that we can't even fathom right now.
Yeah.
I always go back. I've used it a million times, just because it's the best example of it. Is that B-2 stealth bomber story? To me, that's the best example of it. And the NSA with Snowden coming out and talking about all that, everything like the Patriot Act, all that, all these things that they've been doing for years and years and years. MK Ultra, the putting LSD in a town's water system and all this, like, they've been doing this stuff for years, and then people sound like nuts and they sound like conspiracy theorists when they talk about it, and then all of a sudden, what do you know? We're right, but we don't find out until 10 years later.
Or 20 years later, and then the people who are actually doing it aren't in a position of power, and they go, "Oh, so that's not happening anymore."
It's not happening.
'Cause
Everything's
this
good
person's,
now.
But then the same thing happens just over and over again.
Well, and
It's laughable.
I think that when it comes down to the technology that we're talking about, I think you're absolutely right, Johnny, in the aspect of how our governments would use it to their advantage in the moment and doing something like you described. But damn it, I lost my train of thought.
I'm not saying they're using it like having a fake president up there for us or
Right.
something. Like,
but that's some scary shit, man. Like the shit that could start, that's some scary fucking shit. And something has to be had. And the governments that know that this technology exists, like whenever a situation like that happens, they have to be aware that it could be a deepfake at that point. And like you can't go based off of a video that you're watching, because what would China do in that situation? If America did a deepfake with a Russian fucking general and he's talking shit on China or whatever, like, do you think China's like dumb enough? Like, no, this is probably a deepfake. Or like, hey, how do they investigate?
I don't
that
know, man.
situation?
I'm not in the
Like,
government. There's got to be ways that, man. There's so many people on this earth a million times smarter than us, paid way higher than
For
us
sure.
to do these jobs.
It'll never negatively affect the government more than it will the common person.
Exactly.
True.
With this technology, because once again, they've already known about it for so long, and they probably have recognition software to be able to realize, hey, this is somebody with an overlay.
Allegedly
face.
mainstream. Any articles you look up, there is no there's no evidence to suggest that they're able to detect a deepfake video. At least from what I read tonight, when I looked up.
But when
they
you
got
talk
that
about
shit.
the government,
They
you
got
don't
that
you don't
shit.
know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guarantee you they got that shit. If they don't have it, they're working like countless hours and billions of taxpayer dollars to figure it out if they haven't already on the sideline somewhere. But I think the big thing for the common person and with technology, because so many scams happen, and I've almost been caught by one. The IRS one really fucking hit me hard. I'm pretty sure you're working that shift whenever I got that call and I came and talked to you about it. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And then I had to like step back and be like, man, this is weird. And then I had to do some research, and then I looked it up, and the IRS literally says on their homepage, we will never call you. We will never, ever call you about anything.
They'll
You will
mail
get
you.
a letter.
Yep.
You will get a letter in the mail, blah, blah, blah. And then figured out, oh man, this is a scam. So I think anytime over technology or even in real life, if somebody's emotionally changing your state and then somehow tries to get money involved, I think you need to take a step back and then just reevaluate that, especially when it's over any piece of technology like your phone, anything.
Which is going to be hard when it's your mom sitting there talking to you.
Yeah, but you have to, and no, you probably don't have to deal with this now, but sometime in the future, there's going to be these deepfake scam calls.
Oh yeah.
And what's really shitty, these people are extremely creative and intuitive. Like, these aren't stupid people.
It's gonna be like
pulling this shit off. Like, and that's one thing that's really frustrating to me. I was like, man, you're so creative and you can handle technology so well. You just can't get a job at like Apple or some shit and make the same amount of money, but not fucking people over.
You got to imagine, man, like eventually there's going to be an app on your phone where I can download a picture of you and I can call Johnny as you.
Yeah, no, that will exist eventually.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's fucking insane.
But once
Look
again,
at the face swap. You know the face swap for, like, we saw the origins of this like a while ago with the face swap on Snapchat. Like that's crazy ass fucking shit. They're able to do that, even though that looks wonky as fuck. But still, that's
it
like
looks
the
better
base.
now though than it used to. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've used it in a while.
No, I haven't used it.
Solid tech. I mean,
Got to be careful with that shit. I have I wanted to bring this up earlier. So my parents are landlords, and they had an ad posted on Craigslist, and somebody literally went in and copy and pasted the entire rental ad from Craigslist, and then just changed the number is the only thing that they changed,
Damn.
and then put it back on Craigslist. Somebody called them. This legitimately happened to them. They called the number. He's like, hey, I'm not gonna say my dad's name. John Doe. He's like, hey, this is John Doe. Yeah, I'm renting out whatever property. He's like, hey, I'm out of town right now. He goes, but if you swing by the property, if you see any neighbors, just name me by name, which is the actual name of the person who's trying to rent out the property. He's like, man, if anybody comes up, just say, John Doe sent you. You'll be good. Look around the property. And then they look around the property and be like, hey, man, you like it? And they go, yeah, I like it. And they go, okay, if you just go ahead and send me the security deposit, we'll get you moved in. And then would send the security deposit to the account, and then they would erase everything.
yep.
And then take your money. This scams happen all the time in any way. That one's so simplistic too. literally anybody could fucking do that one if you get a prepaid fucking phone, and you would have.
And it'd be easy to fall for because you're going for the whole like.
Yeah,
they're
dude,
actually going to the property. They're actually
They,
like.
you physically show up to the property, and they're using the original guy's name too. To where, hey man, if anybody seems weird about it, just be like, oh no, John Doe sent you on over, and then they say that name.
How do they get inside the house though?
They don't get inside the house. So the whole point is, hey, I'm out of town. I can't let you in. So you can go and look into the windows if you want. Just check it out. If somebody's there, just tell them, oh, so and so sent you over, and that's their landlord's name. So they go, oh, okay, okay. They recognize that name off the bat, and then they just send them the security deposit. It's literally the most simplistic, just evil fucking thing. But anyway, yeah, people do that shit too.
Which is why, honestly, and I guess you did a better job of it. I guess that's the point I was trying to get at earlier, Paul, is that, man, as scary as this technology is, scams and stuff like that will always exist in some form.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility to be diligent and to do your research and to think about. Recently, when I got the new job that I just got, I got an email from that job about some like I-9 tax information and stuff, but the website it had me go to was super shady looking. It was real. It turns out that it was real, and I was supposed to put my stuff in there, but I started typing stuff in, and they asked for my social and all this different stuff, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, this is just a .com website with a basic domain name, like whatever, i9workcomplete.com or whatever. I'm like, man, this could be someone stealing my fucking info, and I don't even know it. So I went and in person physically talked to the people hiring me to make sure that that was a credible thing. And it sucks that you have to do that. Life shouldn't be that quote unquote hard, but you need to protect yourself. You need to be smart.
Yeah.
You need to think about these things.
I've went down the rabbit hole on YouTube many times, and I've talked about it on the podcast quite a bit. But recently it hit me, man, and a lot of the same channels that I watch, I try and watch a shit ton of different channels, but one in specific I watched, and it was a video of this general that Trump has who's going to administrate the vaccine when it comes out for COVID-19. And it was like he played like a minute clip of this video, and it the way that the general was talking, it suggested that it's going to be mandatory for all Americans in the United States. And then I did some research for one of the first times ever, because I don't do exactly what you just described. Do my due diligence and actually look into what they're saying. And I tried to find the original video, and it was on C-SPAN. And it's like a 40-minute video, not a minute video. Mm-hmm. And there's like 3 or 4 different people talking. And the general comes in at like minute 18, and you listen to him talk for 10 minutes, and they completely edited the video to make it sound like what they wanted it to sound like. And this is a YouTuber.
And that's been a thing forever.
I know. I'm just saying, in for what we're talking about, like people actually need to do research on what they're watching and not take it for what it is. Like I've watched this dude for years, man. And then like he lost all his credibility to me. And not only did he run it, but 2 other channels ran that same fucking video that I watch. 2 other channels that have 500,000 plus subscribers.
Sometimes they're not doing it to be nefarious. Those 2 other channels, or him even, maybe just copy the video because they didn't do their due diligence.
Right.
They didn't do their research, and then rumors and stuff like that gets spread around.
Yeah.
False information gets spread around, which is why it always comes back to, it sucks. It really does suck. But that's why I've always said over and over on this podcast, go to multiple sources. Don't just listen to us. Don't just listen to someone else. Like, do your research, go to multiple sources, really think it out, and do whatever you can to, if something seems, especially when we talk about the scam stuff, like with Jesse with the IRS thing, if something seems slightly shady, pause for a second, don't let your emotions, your fear take hold of you, and really think it through and be like, why would I be sending money over the phone to this person? And if 1% of you is like, this seems a little shady, then you need to take a step back and do everything you can to verify that that's real.
100%, man.
And in the future, and once again, it sounds so conspiracy theory-esque, but man, in the future, it's the same as when a business gets a call from a security company and you're supposed to have a secure word or whatever to say that you're not in a hostage situation or whatever, unfortunately, you need to do the same with your family. With deepfakes becoming a thing now,
imagine the cop's job, how hard that's going to get.
Yeah, it's going to. No, it's going to be ridiculous. But you need to be able to have. You need to know that if your dad's calling you, it's actually your fucking dad. And that sounds so crazy to say out loud. But why not get a leg up on it now instead of maybe you end up being one of those 1 out of every 50 people who ends up getting caught with these scams during the next few years. Instead of taking that chance and rolling those dice.
I just like, man, like, I know, like, and again, you're right. It's playing off emotion, and people will do that and fear. But, and that's the thing. It would be extremely hard if someone is deep faking you and calling you as like your mother or your dad, and it's instantly just emotional. Like, hey, like, we're going to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Something's about to happen. I really need some cash. Like, there's really no time to tell if that truly is your mother. Like, instantly, you're going to, it's just emotion. Like, you don't get a chance to know, like, is this really my dude, like, you don't know. Like,
especially because now we all have this online social presence, this social media presence that
they could kind of get to know you a little bit.
Exactly. So they could literally be like, hey, Johnny, we're running Shelby, your sister, to the hospital right now, blah, 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 blah. Like, they could have her name.
Mm-hmm.
They could know that she's my sister. They could know her age just by doing a little bit of clicking around on Facebook or whatever, which I don't have Facebook anymore. But in general, they can figure this shit out.
And have a legit
conversation. Which is why, once again, it sounds so dumb.
Put too much of our shit on the fucking internet.
Well, yeah, that for sure. But avoiding that aspect, that's a conversation for a different time, I feel like. I really do think that
this deepfake shit is.
I really
deep.
do think that
It's deep.
it sounds dumb, but you need to convince.
Huh?
Were you watching videos?
No.
Yeah.
You need to talk to your parents, talk to your kids, talk to your grandparents, your family. Get some kind of plan of action together to avoid this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because again, Johnny's gonna edit the video and he's gonna put examples of deepfakes.
Yeah, there will be
on here.
You'll see
Yeah,
some.
if you haven't seen them and you're listening to this and you go, man, this.
I'm gonna
this
put some
shit's-"
at the beginning when
and,
we were
and you're
talking
probably
about.
thinking it's so fucking stupid. Whenever you see it, you're gonna be like, what the fuck am I watching right now? The technology's unbelievably crazy. It's so accurate. It's so accurate. Just the small examples that we have of it right now. And this is already I feel like this is already old news. Deepfakes has been a thing.
This is, by the way, that Jack Nicholson. I'll look it up when I go to edit it.
That's
Jack
got to be
Nicholson-
2 years old.
It's,
Man.
I was gonna say it's like 3 years old.
It's one of
2
those,
or 3 years old.
It's one of those
So
things
this-
though, like you see it and you read about it, but it's like, have you really sat down and listened to like the implications of what deepfake is, which is exactly what we're doing. I knew about it, but I've never had a legitimate conversation for over 5 minutes about what the implications of deepfake is. And I think it's extremely important what we're doing right now to enlighten people on that situation.
For sure. And just be aware of it. So obviously you don't live your life in fear or anything, but it's always good to have a little bit of knowledge to where you can handle things in the future.
100%.
That's what we're trying to do for the common person, because I think this is what it's going to mostly affect is older generation, just the common everyday person, but they're going to be a little bit older. I think
That's usually
Imagine,
what
like,
happens. That's
yeah,
usually what
like
happens.
people our parents' age are going to be
80-year-old
the most negatively affected by it probably in the next 5 years.
80-year-old
Without
guy
assume.
who has a fucking cell phone. He has Facebook Messenger like you talked about, and then his young grandson comes on and deepfakes him, and the dude's a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just all those examples. It's just one after another, after another, after another.
And it doesn't hit. The whole thing with scams is 95% of the time people don't fall for it, but it's the 5%. And what's really shitty about this is it's always the undereducated and the older that get affected by it. So the people that are already kind of, like, so it's just shitty.
Easy targets.
The easy targets, which is really, really fucking shitty. So yeah, just do
And
as much prevention as possible.
And I think, like you said, man, like with technology and the progression of technology, it's almost impossible to counteract these kind of things.
No, you can't. You have to be what's the word? Like proactive about it. You
Yeah.
have to get ahead of the curve with it.
But I
And
think
and there's some people you'll never teach or educate on it either. I mean, so my dad and my stepmom, my dad has had his Facebook. I hate the word hacked. Everybody says hacked, but you know what I'm talking about. It's where they get their account stolen. That's not actually hacking, but whatever. They get their account stolen or whatever. He's had that happen like 3 times on his Facebook. My stepmom's had it happen like twice. And I keep telling them, because they go on Facebook and they do these stupid little, you've all seen it, the little quizzes or the little games, like, what Harry Potter character are you? Blah, blah, blah.
I love that shit, man.
Yeah, but no, you should never click on that shit, because when you are, and you don't read the little, I accept thing to play that little game, you're giving whatever company that is all of your Facebook information, including your password and your email and stuff.
Damn.
You're giving them that information, and if it's not a trusted company, they can do whatever they want. And with technology these days, I could develop a fucking little Facebook quiz game, start a company for like $30,
Steal all the
and
passwords.
steal all the passwords of everybody who clicks on it. It's that easy. And but at the same time, it's that easy to not have it happen to you by just avoiding those things.
right, as fun as it is, like
And I
Jesse
had to explain.
says.
I had to explain that to my dad several times. I was like, because he would get it hacked, and I told him and all that, and then it would happen again like 3 months later, and I'm like, have you clicked on whatever? And I look through his fucking Facebook and see some of the things that they had, and I'm like, this right here, you can't do this. And he's like, why? It's just a little. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This company that developed this app that you're using on Facebook has all your information, your password, your email, everything.
You don't need to go through the 10 questionnaire to realize, man, I'm really not a Chandler. I'm more of a Ross.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. You need the computer to tell you that. You know what I'm saying?
Those
Do
are
you
still,
really
those are
do you,
still
do
fun,
you really
though.
care if you're a Slytherin or a Gryffindor? It doesn't matter.
There's, oh man, they're still fun. But that's how they rope you in, though. If it's fun on the internet, don't fuck with it. Just be miserable on the internet like the rest of us.
I think what we've concluded that there's really nothing good that can come out of this. Like
No, yeah,
truly, you know what I'm
there's
saying?
so much potential for just
Yeah, I think like
even if you were to
for
find,
negative.
which I don't even want to bring it up because Paul did mention one
Yeah.
tiny good thing that could have happened earlier, but that's so minuscule.
Right.
Any amount of good that could come from deepfakes is severely outweighed
yeah,
by
yeah,
by the propensity of just evil that could happen.
yeah,
So
that can happen. But also, it's something we need to accept, and I think it's just preparation.
Yeah, you can't
for
get
what
rid
we're
of it.
doing now. You have to accept it just like with anything else, because you don't want-
technology is not going away.
there's also some evil about having the government involved in everything too, but so there's a weird give and take there. But just listen to podcasts like this, and you get prepped for shit. You know,
Yeah, deepfakes are crazy. You guys just be careful with deepfakes and shit like that. Be aware.
sure.
My safe word is pineapple. If you call me and say pineapple, I'll send you all the money.
mine's Oklahoma. You gotta separate. You gotta separate it. Oklahoma.
Yeah, I just don't want to circle back and forth on deepfakes. I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, no,
So let's just get a little philosophical here. I'm going to ask you some philosophical questions. Just a few, man. And we'll elaborate on it, just see how it goes. But it goes a lot into what we do on this podcast. I think a lot of it's, some of it, not recently. I think maybe a year ago, a lot of it would get philosophical, we're towards the end.
I'm down with it.
Yeah.
Hey, if any of you out there have like stories about scams, or if your parents, or even yourself, if you're willing to admit that it happened to you, kind of thing, let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
Shit's interesting.
dude. I think everybody's fucking dealt with it.
No,
Everybody gets those calls.
In some way.
Everybody gets those calls. Anyway.
I would have to look into this, but this is one thing that's before we get into this philosophical shit. When Biden gets in, he's going to get in. I think we all are in agreement upon that. I think Trump still has a chance. Who knows? But
I don't understand. He's not already in. I don't keep up.
No.
How is he not?
No, the media can't call an election. It's actually, I forget who the person is who has to officially call the election. It's not the media, but the person who officially calls it.
They can call everything else though.
The media?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Sorry,
I'm not
that
going
was
to take.
sarcasm.
I'm not going to
That
take.
was
Yeah,
sarcasm.
I think it's actually December 14th when the Electoral College calls the presidential election. But anyways,
And then inauguration's like the 20th of January.
I would have to look within his own plan, within his like new plan and shit. Like the inheritance tax is going to go up dramatically.
The what tax?
The inheritance tax. So like whenever your parents die, and you get $500,000, you're now only going to get $250,000. They're going to just tax it.
You know what would be cool?
Even more.
Is if they went. I'm okay with that. If they
I'm
do,
okay
I'm
with
okay
that
with that.
too,
If
'cause-
they
I'm
do
not
the-
okay with that.
Hold up, I'm not. I was
Fuck
making.
that.
Hold up, Paul. I was making a joke. I'm actually not okay with it. What I'm saying is, I'd be okay with it if they went the opposite way, which is where, if God forbid, my parents were to die, and then they leave me with $100,000 in debt, that the government pays like 30% of that debt.
Yeah, no shit.
No, but I mean, but that's being the biggest issue is that somebody who worked really hard for something, and established and made $1 billion, now they just have
Jesse,
their kid.
We're talking
their kid
about
inherit
the
all that.
majority of the American hardworking people.
Yeah, I agree with
You-
Paul on this
not
one.
fucking billionaires, man. If you want to just
Well, that's
accept-
okay. Okay, so you're right. That's probably not a good thing. Depending if there's a cap, like if it starts at $1 million, where all of a sudden it exponentially,
They shouldn't have
goes
their
up.
hands in any inheritance. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. That was just like a little fun snippet, man.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was like, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So these are just some philosophical questions about human nature and the human condition. Okay. I don't know how deep you guys want to go into this. If you like the question, we can go deep. If not, then we can move. We
I
can move on.
understood like 3 of those words.
Ask
Paul.
me the goddamn question, Paul.
What harsh truths do you prefer to ignore?
Oh, that man, I drank too much. That's probably a harsh truth that I tend to ignore. That's the one that comes into my head. You know, or are you talking about just general? Is it like did it
No,
need
for
to
me,
be personal?
no, for me, I think personally, yeah. For me, it would be just being lazy. Like I
That's mine goes off of that, Paul, which is that my like laziness or lack of motivation is completely within my control. It's not an outside. Like that's a hard truth that I have to face. Is I have control over my own life.
Yeah.
I have control over my own life.
But I just choose to sit
but
on
I
the
choose
couch.
I choose to
and do
act like
nothing.
stuff isn't my fault that certain things happen to me.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
It's a really good one, actually. It's a really good one.
Yeah, that was the number one question on there's like 250 fucking questions on here.
Let's hit like 69 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me 1 sec. And we've already answered some of these questions, believe it or not. Like this one was how will humans as a species go extinct? Well, I don't think we've answered that, but we've talked
about that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't think we will go extinct.
Depends on your definition of extinct, by the way.
True. But I mean, I think there's been a lot of cataclysmic events on this earth and we're still here.
We're too egotistical to let us die off, man. And we have too much technology now. One thing I will say is I think at some point humans will transition into something else.
That was my point with the whole extinct thing. Once we're all like cybernetic and AI and all this, are we still humans at that point? That's a different question.
I guess that does involve a different question, but that's what I think. Whenever there are no more humans, it won't be because of a meteor or a disease or some shit. It's because we will have transitioned into something else. And
That's
then-
how I feel as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I agree. Yeah, if we were to go into like fucking robots, like we're still in existence at that point, right? Because we've already came to the conclusion that we won't evolve further than what we have. Because we're so deep into technology right now that we will go into technology before we evolve from an evolutionary perspective.
Yeah, our next we had this conversation, Paul, when we were talking about what constitutes a form of evolution.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a form of evolution for us to get smarter and develop technology that we integrate ourselves with.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying is like technology has taken over in that aspect, and we are going to evolve that way. But what I'm saying, without
we'll
technology,
evolve into technology before we evolve to like use gills if the world floods or some shit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's.
agree with that.
Does a person's name influence the person they become? I think we talked about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
we did. That
we've
was
It's
done a
been that
podcast
they've done studies and it's proven.
You can almost see it like naturally. People with certain names tend to act certain ways. It's just weird how that works.
Well, it's a I mean, I've actually read a big study on this, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're deemed to be a certain way based upon your name, even when you're a child, and then you grow up form-fitting that to a degree. The studies they've done, they've shown though that it does have an effect on who you are as a person.
It's a really weird one. It's a really weird one, but yes.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think like there's a lot of really weird names now. Like you have people named Nacho and Taco and shit like that, and they're NFL players, but I don't think that their name dictated that. That's what.
Clinton Dix.
Some names are just way far out there, man. I don't know if I can jump on board with that.
Those names who are way far out there, though, have a better chance of being recognized for a celebrity status or a football status or any of those because the name is so unique and different.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
So they have better odds. And when I say better odds, it may be 0.05%, but they still have better odds of getting recognized over John Smith.
Yeah, a dude named Taco is going to have a better chance than Paul, for sure. You're right. Is it possible to live a normal life and not ever tell a lie?
Ooh.
Everyone lies. Everyone lies.
No,
everyone.
Everyone does. But that's what I'm wondering, though, for your question. Is it possible without ever telling a lie?
7 billion people, you don't think there's not one person who's never told a lie? Like someone who just has a big mouth, you know?
Somebody without maybe like some kind of mental disability. No, everybody lies. Because lying isn't necessarily direct towards morality because there's a lot of good times to lie morally.
It's part of communication.
So like the best example that I've always heard, which was always a big moral issue, was what about the Germans hiding Jews during World War II? And then you'd have Nazis come in and be like, hey, are you hiding any Jews? And they were like, no, we're not. That definitely is the best example of
a good lie.
That's a good moral lie.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So lying doesn't necessarily have to line up with anything morally. So somebody that physically couldn't lie, lying is just a part of being a
I think
human
I
being.
feel like I watched a
just-
movie that was. I did. I
Like
watched a
your girl-
movie
you-
about a guy who physically couldn't lie. Or no.
That's Ricky Gervais. And
Yes.
I haven't seen it. I know what the fuck you're talking
It's
about.
weird.
Though.
So no, it's not that. It's the entire world can't lie. It is literally impossible for people to lie, like on Earth. So everything they say has to be a fact or is true. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Ricky Gervais' character is able to lie. But since lying is not a thing that's known in the world, since it's not even possible, when he's able to do this, people instantly believe whatever he says as fact, and it has to be a fact kind of thing. It's actually an interesting movie. I won't say it's good because it's not real good, but it is an interesting movie.
Interesting plot to it.
I think like
They
whenever
get,
it comes
you get
to,
religion involved in all this because he
Yeah.
talks about God, and all of a sudden now God has to be a fact.
right.
I won't go more
I
into
think
it
when-
than that for
I th-
people who haven't seen it.
And what really constitute? I mean, I think like on like just my subconscious level, like it's very simple and easy to understand what a lie is. But like if I'm trying, like if I'm in just like a conversation with someone I don't know, I don't necessarily see the issue with lying to that person. Like, hey man, like nice to meet you. I'm like I'm at a Chiefs game, you know, I'm sitting next to the guy, and I'm just like, what do you do for a living? Like, do I really need to tell that guy what I do for a living? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how small lies can be, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't
Well,
really
I
need
think-
to tell that guy. Like, you don't need to like open up and just with someone.
Once
you
again, I
don't
think
know.
lying is a part of conversation. It
Yeah.
is literally a piece of conversation that we use. It's part of our vernacular, you know?
And
Yeah.
and you could literally break down lying, because lying, if you look at it at its most basic point, is not being truthful. So what about the people who go, "Hey man, how's your day going?" And I'm having a shit ass fucking day
I'm
at
fine.
work, but I smile and I go, "Oh, I'm having a good day." Guess what? I just fucking lied to them.
Yeah.
I just lied, but that's not any moral issue. I think whenever people talk about lying, what they're really talking about is the destructive nature whenever you use it to take advantage of other people.
For
You use
sure.
it for your own benefit.
Yeah, and
There's, lying is very much
So to answer
Just
your
a part
initial
of-
question, Paul, I don't think it would be possible to go without telling a lie. And Jesse made the perfect excuse right there with the whole, how is your day going? Yeah. How's your day going? You couldn't get through your life telling the absolute truth for everything.
at least living in the Midwest. You could.
Yeah.
it's fucking negative like 10 degrees outside, and you're like, yeah, man, there's no way. These are some good questions, man. I like it.
No, these
I
are
love
cool.
philosophical talks.
I'm enjoying this.
I just gotta find. That's a good question, but I'm not gonna ask it. Will religion ever become obsolete?
Why is this one wonky? Look at that.
I don't want to get into that right now.
Yeah, I
Paul.
don't either.
That's too long of a.
I agree.
Oh,
Have
Jesse,
you ever had one like that?
Jesse.
No,
that's
it's broken, man.
No, that's going to be flat. I literally, last night when we were at Austin's and Collins, I had the same thing happen with White Claw. I literally had one that was
gonna
like
be
that, and
gross.
I opened it, and it was flat the entire way.
This one kind of goes into what we just.
You're right. There's no bubbles.
It's just going to be flat.
This
no, there's no bubbles at all.
That's gross. Yeah, we'll
Weird.
just open up the next one.
Literally drank one just like that last night.
This one kind of goes into what we were just actually talking
Going
about.
back to basic.
How likely do you think it will be that humans will last another 1,000 years without killing ourselves off?
100%.
Highly likely that we
100%
will last
we will.
another 1,000 years.
Do you think because of technology and
Yeah.
integrating
No, I
with
won't
technology?
say because of technology. I will just say in general,
Technology.
I don't
is-
think we're going to kill each other off in the next 1,000 years.
No, we won't kill. I mean, we're gonna kill each other. We're not gonna
Not
kill each other.
off to the level of extinction.
Right, because from what mainstream says, we go back 10,000 years, right? Predated to the oldest like civilization, like the pyramids and fucking the Sumerians and shit like that. But whenever they go back, you have people like Graham Hancock who said he has evidence to suggest that Neanderthals had been around for 100, if not 200,000 years.
Which I don't know anything about all that. but
Yeah. So if that's true and we've lived as Neanderthals since 200,000 years ago, there's no way in the next 1,000 years we'll be gone.
That's what I'm saying. And even more so, people were always, the big one was nuclear warfare. People were worried about nuclear war. The thing is, and we've had this conversation when we talked about World War III. With technology these days, we're past that. So the entire reason we dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki was to put Japan in their place during the war and all this stuff to make a massive statement. All this, you won't need that anymore because with the touch of some computer keys, you can crash an economy.
Right. Jesse?
Or even better yet, you'd have biological. So the big issue with nuclear warfare is, yes, you do wipe out your enemy, but then that land's not usable. What you could do is develop a virus and then also have the vaccine for it and then vaccinate all of your people and then unleash a virus to it, kind of like what the conquistadors did and what white people did to, like, Native Americans. I almost said American Indians. That just seems wrong still.
Yeah,
but
100%.
American Indians is wrong. That would
which
be
they didn't know that they were
Americans
doing it.
from
They
India.
didn't know that they were doing that at the time. But that'd be the most efficient way to do it is not dropping nuclear bombs. I don't even remember
biological
what
warfare.
Yeah, biological warfare. I don't even remember what the fucking question was.
Will humans wipe each other out?
In the next 1,000 years, yeah.
No, so humans
No.
will not wipe it. Yeah.
Okay. How, if freedom is simply being able to do what you want, are animals freer than humans?
No.
How so?
That's such a broad question.
Yeah,
because
that one's fucking
so
weird,
like
man.
Lucian, Jesse's dog, is way less free.
Yeah, because he can't do what he wants. You're
He
right.
can't do whatever he
I
wants.
think they're like talking about
cows. Name a wild cow.
I think they're like talking about like, and again, I could be wrong, but like animals in national parks, like that are able just to freely do.
No,
what
they're
they
stuck
wanna
in that
do.
national park.
I mean, not necessarily.
Yes, they are. That animal's not going to be able to just
I mean,
go
man,
into
those
people's apartments.
National parks are massive, man. Like, there's no way that they.
That doesn't matter, though. You said free. So humans are more free.
But I think like for like if you, and what is truly free, and I think that's a separate question philosophically in its own. But like for instance, you have this guy in Moab, and I think I mentioned him to you guys last week. Maybe I didn't, but he eventually turned not necessarily homeless, but like he just lives in caves out in Moab.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's good for him. That's his choice. He can do that.
He doesn't have money. He just
That's-
he just eats.
And you inherently, we've had a conversation like this that like you would never do it because you love your family. But technically speaking, Paul, you could right now get up, walk away, and never see your wife, your
And that's
kids,
what a lot
us, any of us ever again.
And that's what
You
a lot
could
of animals
completely
do.
Change your life.
A lot of animals do that, but and animals aren't subjected to money. They're not subjected to money in society. They're
They
just
still
there.
have hierarchies within the animal kingdom and within whatever. It depends because you're just saying animals. That's such a broad.
Yeah.
That's such a broad. Because like once again, find a cow that's free or free range chicken.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because they're gonna die and we're gonna eat them.
There's not wild cows out there roaming about.
Do you need the concept of freedom first before you can even experience it? Because animals, so like fucking like a goldfish has a memory of like fucking
2 seconds.
2 fucking seconds?
Is what they say. I don't.
How, I feel like you would almost have to be able to have the understanding of freedom first.
I think that humans are more free than anything else, than any other species in the world. I think that humans are the most free because you can truly, Jesse, you were outside, but like I said, for Paul or you or anybody, you could right now get up from this table, walk away, and never see any of the people that you've met in your life ever again. That's your choice. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, it's very true. As an animal, you can't get on a plane and do that.
It would be difficult on like an emotional level and a money level and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But you are free to do that.
That fucking frog cannot get on a plane to LAX. It's just not gonna happen. And the frog's gay too, by the way. Alex Jones.
The frog's gay.
Yes.
Freaking frog's gay.
Dude, I want to show you a fucking video, which you probably have already seen. I was stoned as fuck. I rolled the fattest fucking joint the other night. I fucking found this video of Alex Jones. But what they do is they dub over it and turn him into a folk song.
Oh,
Johnny,
I sent
Johnny
you that.
sent it to me. Yeah,
I sent
it
you
to
that.
So you've seen that too, dude?
Yeah.
I watched that.
I sent it
Johnny
to you
sent
and
it to
Paul.
me. Yeah, he sent it to me.
I literally
Was
sent
that a
it to-
while ago? Because this is more recent. Whenever
This
I
was
fucking
like
saw
this
it.
was like 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe yeah.
I literally sent it to both of you guys.
Maybe I missed that one. Anyway, no, I saw it and I was stoned the other day and I laughed so fucking hard. It's fucking hilarious. It's really good.
What is the best way for a person to obtain happiness?
Oh,
This one's
comes
really
down
easy.
to the individual.
No, this one's extremely easy. Unless there is an actual chemical deficiency in the brain somewhere for people, the easiest way to be happy is to create other happiness in other people.
Fair enough.
But I mean, but there are exceptions.
No, that is.
There's always exceptions, but if you want to talk about for the normal person that doesn't have a chemical imbalance in their brain, because it is happiness is a chemical release in the fucking brain. If you don't have that, you physically
Is it
can't
dopamine?
be-
Serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine.
Yeah, if you don't have that shit, you physically can't be happy because.
But just a question, like
Yes,
with the way that
what-
the world is now, all of those three things you just described, Johnny, the government or the powers that be that project all the shit on us, have made us we want that shit instantaneously, right?
You can fix that though. That's
True, but that's up to you as an individual, not to
yes.
comply with not to give in to what they're doing.
But I feel like what that question was asking is you make someone else happy.
and I agree
Yeah.
with Jesse on that.
I'm on board
Making
with
someone
that too.
else happy is how you become happy yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that too. It's a short answer on that one.
Yes.
Is intelligence or wisdom more useful?
Depends on the context.
There's
Because
no-
I would say
Just
wisdom.
general, so-
I would say in general, wisdom is more
This-
useful. But like, let's say you're developing something for NASA or you're developing a rocket, then intelligence would be more useful at that time.
I think a better way that I'm going to say it is which one's more important. I think wisdom's more important
I agree.
because without wisdom, if you have great intelligence, it can be misused. So wisdom is almost the guiding of how to appropriately use that intelligence. So it's much better to be a lot more wise than have intelligence, even though I do think that they go hand in hand a little bit. No matter what, intelligence and wisdom, they do interact. But what's more important is the wisdom, because if you have a bunch of intelligence, you can misuse that because wisdom is what guides. That's where I'll leave it.
I agree with Jesse 100%. It's basically they're both important, but wisdom probably does in general peak higher, and because with only intelligence and no wisdom, a lot of bad can happen.
Look at any politician. Those people aren't necessarily stupid.
I wouldn't say they're-
or
yeah.
CEOs. Look at CEOs
There you
that have no actual wisdom in caring for other people and how the whole world interacts, but they are
Highly intelligent,
highly
yeah.
intelligent individuals that fuck up a lot of shit.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, that's really the only way to put it. Like whenever you put it in that perspective. But
What's crazy about wisdom though is you almost have to fuck up first.
That's the whole point. You have to
With-
make
with
mistakes
wisdom.
to gain.
But even intelligence, you don't necessarily have to fuck anything up. Gaining intelligence, you just kind of absorb information and in shit. As
I'm
to where
sure-
I think wisdom really sets in whenever you experience a negative of something. And then
Well, I think
so
you're
it's,
just talking about the difference between intelligence and wisdom now. Intelligence
get-
would
yeah.
be,
Yeah.
you can learn things like stats or a number or whatever. I'm not going to get into all. Jesse
we
pretty much.
answered it.
Yeah,
We fucking answered it.
Jesse nailed it.
all right, so I'm going to do one more, man. We'll probably end the podcast because we're just lightly over an hour. But is it better to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond?
Small fish in a big pond.
Small fish. Why? So you go
What is, the
unnoticed?
what is the metaphor for?
So you go unnoticed? Like you can just live your life without being noticed,
I
and
feel
you
like this
just
is like a personality trait question.
This is a
right-
personality
right here.
trait question. I have my answer would be small. To me, the way I perceive the question, I would choose to be a small fish in a big pond, because then it's more room to move around, more freedom, more room to do whatever I want. As to where a big fish in a small pond is a limiting factor. You can be the leader of it. It's would you rather be the king of a prison or a peon and free?
yeah, you have more opportunity as a small fish in a big pond. And I know like,
That's the way I see it. The
Yeah.
question could be interpreted tons of different ways. But
Right.
That's the way I see it. Would you rather be the leader? Would you be stuck in prison, but you rule that fucking prison? You run it, or just you're a dishwasher at you're a grocery sacker, but you're out in the world doing whatever you want.
That question doesn't do it for me, so I'm not even gonna answer it. That one's weird for me.
You want me to do one more then? One last one?
Sure, do another
Okay.
one. Bro, I ain't got shit to fucking do. I'm gonna go home and I don't even know. Watch some more stand-up
Deepfakes.
comedy. Stand-up deepfake comedy.
This one's pretty cool. What 2 questions would you ask to get the most information about who a person truly is?
Oh, this one's really fucking good, actually.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Fuck, man. 2 questions to try to gain the most information you possibly can about somebody.
Yeah. So if I had no idea who you were,
Man,
Jesse, and Johnny was he's your best friend, I went to Johnny and I had to ask Johnny 2 questions to figure out who you truly are.
To figure out who Jesse is or
Yeah.
who I am. I thought it was 2 questions about themselves.
Oh, was that maybe I was wrong.
Like
on that.
Paul, I've never met you. I can ask you 2 questions to learn who you truly are.
Well, I mean, yeah. What
That's the
2
same-
questions
that's the same
would you ask to get the most information about who a person truly is? So if that would apply to any situation, I think.
What do you want to do?
Do you believe the Earth is flat? Because then I can really weed you out
Yeah.
from there, whether or not I can continue talking.
Yeah.
By the way, based on how they answer that first question, you may not even need a second question.
Be like, all right, man, we're cool.
You'd be like, man, that person's fucking Paul Weiss, man.
Yeah, this is Paul
No,
White.
so honestly, my 2 would be, what do you want to do? And man, this is a shitty way to put it. What have you done
To get to know who a person truly is.
to get to know who a person truly
I
is?
feel like those shouldn't be allowed to be the questions, even though those are the smartest ones, because then you get all the background information. So you're creating questions
You-
to get all the information.
Paul asked the question though. I'm just answering how I would.
Yeah, you got your turn, man.
No, those are really good. Johnny said the best ones because he's gaining the most information from those questions. That's the whole point. What question can I ask to where I can gain the most information from you? And those are literally, hey, what have you done your whole life? Tell
Yeah.
me everything about
And
you.
what else do you want to do?
Then I can get a good grasp on that.
That's-
But I have a feeling they were asking more
I
simplistic
get what you're
questions.
saying.
But
I'm
no,
just-
that works too. No, that works too.
What 2 questions would you ask?
I told you the first one. Do you believe the Earth is flat? I work from there. Oh man. And then probably, Jesus, fucking Christ. I don't know. I'd ask like some pop culture reference. Like, do you think Will Ferrell's fucking funny? Like, what's your opinion on Will Ferrell? And then I'd probably
Yeah.
be able to gain a decent amount of information from you from there too. Like,
But then it's just whether or not
And
you
then-
like that person. You're trying to realize just a little bit about them.
that's a really
Yeah.
good question. That
I would
really had to rack
say-
my brain on that one.
I would say, what hardships have you faced? And then, do you believe in life after death? I don't know.
There you go.
Sure, no, that works too.
And those are along the same lines, honestly, of what have you done and what do you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yours was the most like I felt it's almost cheating with your questions because you're just gaining all the
but
information.
Literally,
all
the
of it.
question or
depending on how honest they want to
if
be
this
with you.
if this was a test, like his question was, what 2 questions do you ask? I guess I'm thinking of it like a riddle. Like, what 2 questions do you ask to gain the most information? Those are the 2
I was
questions.
thinking more like personally, like what would I actually ask a person
Yeah.
to try to gain
I got you.
information?
I got you.
Same.
So I don't know.
So looking
We-
at
we
that
all-
point,
we all had a
if I'd met
different-
you and I'd never
different
met
angle
you
on it.
before, Paul, and I wanted to gain information out of you, and it was a real conversation, because I would just seem like a freak if I were to be like, what do you want to do and what have you done? Like, nobody would actually...
What are your dreams?
Yeah, what are your dreams? No, that'd be terrifying.
Tommy Lee Jones at the end of fucking that one movie.
Yeah.
That shit.
But Pamela Anderson, just getting it.
What?
What?
Oh, we're talking about 2
Said
separate times.
Tommy Lee Jones, man. Not
Not...
Tommy Lee.
My bad. I
Two
always get
different
those
people.
people confused. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right. They're really similar.
Yeah.
Very different.
Men in Black or
one has
fucking Pamela
one has
Anderson.
hepatitis,
Yeah.
and the other one has
Man, now I just want to
double
watch...
hepatitis.
Now I just want to watch No Country for Old Men.
I know. That's the name of the movie I was trying to think of.
I just want to watch No Country for Old Men now.
It's a really good one.
We'll leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting podcast. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys watch it and just tell us what your thoughts are in the comments below, because it's the only way we know what the fuck it is that's
Yeah.
on your mind.
Yay or nay on the philosophy questions, on the
Yeah.
philosophical questions.
I don't give a fuck about what they like. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
Doing
it.
that
I
shit.
enjoyed it.
I don't give a fuck what they like.
The first
keep asking
part-
me philosophical questions. I enjoy that shit.
The first part, yeah, I definitely want to know exactly what you think about deepfakes and shit like that. And if you think that there's any benefits to having deepfake technology, let us know down in the comments. That'd be awesome.
No, I'd love to. If someone
No,
actually
absolutely.
has some like hardcore positives, let us know.
Yeah, because we couldn't really think of any.
yeah, no.
But to combat YouTube from, I don't know what they are doing to us. Maybe they're doing nothing and we're just not coming up with good content. I think that we're coming up with good content. But the best thing that you guys could do is just share the video. I know I sound cliche, but share the video, because we work really hard to make these videos. Not really, but we do.
Paul, you do.
Yeah,
You work really hard.
share
Paul.
the shit.
You do. Johnny does. I sit and drink and just spew bullshit out of my mouth for an hour and a half.
For any of our hardcore listeners, man, we were supposed to have a really good guest on today at noon. That has been moved, hopefully, to the 1st of January. Unfortunately, due to just
Was it the first or just sometime in January?
sometime in January, yeah, just due to the extensive amount of interviews that this person's enduring and shit like that, we're hoping for sometime in January that we'll have that guest on. Still working hard to have great guests on, by the way. But again, just share the video, like the video to all our junkies out there.
Stay fly and ring the bell. La, 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 la.
Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele. This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive or whether we become some kind of fucked up dystopia. Thank you, and stay woke, bitches.